If you want to silence someone for something they're saying that you don't want people to hear, then lie about them and demonize them. It's as old as history. I've had rather a strange life, really, a very interesting one. I started out as a professional footballer. That finished with arthritis when I was 21. I then went into journalism in newspapers and radio and television. I was a national presenter, news and sport presenter for the BBC. Then I became involved in the British Green Party and became a national spokesman for the British Green Party. And I left that when I realized that it's just another name for the same basic political mentality. And then I had rather a amazing experience, or series of experiences. From the turn of 1989, when I was in a room alone, it was like I wasn't alone. It was like there was something there, some presence. And I experienced this for a year. And it got more and more powerful, more and more tangible. And I ended up in the spring of 1990 in a hotel room. I was working for the BBC, sitting on a bed in an empty room, saying out into the room, if there's something there, would you please contact me because you'll drive me up the wall. And a very long story short, there's so many elements to it, which I describe in the books. I ended up visiting a psychic for no other reason than to tell her nothing and see if she would pick up, I'd never been to a psychic before, pick up what the heck I was experiencing around me. And I went a couple of times and had a nice chat. She thought I'd gone for hands-on healing. She did, because I've got arthritis, although it hardly affects me now. And then on the third visit, she goes into psychic mode and starts telling me that this presence that says she's connecting with is telling me what my future is, and it's to go out on a world stage and reveal great secrets. That there were enormous secrets that the population, humanity, needed to know, and were being kept from them. One of the lines she came out with was, one man cannot change the world, but one man can communicate the message that can change the world. And along with that was basically from this point, you're going to be led to knowledge, and at other times knowledge will be put into your mind, so you'll just know it. And all I can say is from that moment, that's exactly what happened. I started in the most synchronistic way, bumping into, coincidentally, people, books, documents, personal experiences, and so on, that were like handing me puzzle pieces in a jigsaw puzzle. It started off in the early years where all the information that was coming in the synchronistic way was about what you might call the five sense world, the one we're aware of, that world of everyday experience, what people call the real world. And then from about the kind of mid-late 90s, from about probably 1996, the subject moved in, still continued with all the other five sense level things, which it has to this day. But then another subject came in, and that was that this network of secret societies and bloodline families, which this synchronicity had allowed me to uncover up to that point, were actually controlled beyond human sight by a force that's not human. And then the real big penny drop for me came just after the turn of the millennium, when another subject came into my life. And what has happened is when a new subject comes in, suddenly that information about that subject is coming to me from all angles. And exactly the same happened with the third main subject, which was the nature of reality itself. What is this world that we are apparently living in? How do we interact with it? Who are we? What is the nature of the true I, as opposed to all the labels we give ourselves, which I say, misidentify as the true I? And from that moment on, understanding the nature of reality allowed me to appreciate how things that people call paranormal are actually perfectly normal if you only look at them from a greater perspective, were possible. And I started to realize very clearly that this network of secret societies that I'd been uncovering from 1990-91 were actually hoarding this knowledge of the nature of reality and how it works and how we interact with it, and selling us a lie that this world is what it appears to be in our experience, which is everything is solid, everything's apart from everything else, because that keeps us in ignorance of the very nature of the reality we're experiencing. And if we don't understand at least the basic foundations of the reality we're experiencing, and we believe it to be absolutely what it's not, then already the population in general is in a fundamentally potential position of manipulation by those few who do know how it works. Because this whole conspiracy to enslave humanity, which I've been exposing for 30 years, and now people are starting to see as it hits the surface and starts to break into human society where we can see it, that whole conspiracy is founded, absolutely founded, on the manipulation of human psychology, based on the manipulation of human perception. And you mentioned there about the media. Well, the media is very, very important to maintaining this perceptual programming, this perceptual prison that we live in, because perception comes from information received, whether it's personal experience, whether it's 10 o'clock news or newspaper or whatever, Facebook. It's information received that we form our perceptions from. And if you can control that information, you are to a very large extent controlling human perception. And from human perception comes what? Human behavior. Yes. In all its forms. So control the information that people receive, you control perception, you control human behavior. And this is why we're seeing this war now on any opinion or information that challenges the official narrative of everything. This is why all this censorship's going on the internet, etc. And so to understand how the world's manipulated is to understand what reality is, and therefore how our psychology and our perceptions can be manipulated. The education system, I mean, what is that? It's not education. It's a perceptual download. From the moment you enter as a little child just out of the womb to the time you leave, if you go through to college or university, you're downloading a perceptual program. And then you are tested on it to see how much of the perceptual program you've absorbed in something called exams, where you tell the system what the system's told you to believe, and if you do it well enough, you pass, and if you don't, then you're a disruptive influence in the classroom and a failure. And then you've got the mainstream media that are pounding out this same version of reality and normal. All the governments, government agencies, corporations, etc., are all founded on this perceptual program, because that's all it is, not reality. So is mainstream science, so is mainstream medicine. And if all you hear in your life is one basic set of assumed facts, then that's going to impose itself on your perceptions, and you're going to wave away in dismissal things that are actually true but are at odds with the programmed perceptions that you've downloaded all your life.
Yeah, so all over these years, obviously you've had a lot of pushback from obviously the power and the media, and now I presume you've managed to be successful in your endeavors and make
That's the thing.
That's my question, is what drives you? What drives you to keep going against? Because a lot of people say, oh, I also believe into all of this. We are getting, say, what can I do? Because if I do anything, I lose my job, I lose my reputation. People are scared though to voice even doubt.
Yeah, exactly, because the most insidious form of censorship, which we're now drowning in, is self-censorship,
Yes.
where people are intimidated into silence, and therefore there's no debate about their opinions are just not voiced. But you see, it's assumption. The world, science, is based on assumption. It's not based on fact overwhelmingly. It's on assumption.
Yeah.
When you look at things, just quick aside, like the Big Bang, you look at the so-called Big Bang, where all this came from, and it's a ludicrous idea. I mean, the guy must have been drunk who came up with it. Then all it is a set of assumptions, which what happens is there's an assumption, and then the assumption is repeated and repeated and repeated until it's been repeated so many times that it becomes accepted fact. And it's nothing more than assumption. Listen, you look at science and the different elements of it, it's all assumption. But this is another assumption. And this is a very important kind of area that you've raised here, because the assumption is that if I speak my truth, I will get consequences that will destroy my life. I will lose my job. I will lose my friends. I will lose credibility. And they're the assumptions that frighten people into silence.